It's time for the Car Doctor on AM 950 WROL. Got a car question? Call us at 617-770-3030. That's 617-770-3030. Now, here's the Car Doctor, John Paul, on AM 950 WROL, the spirit of Boston.
Good Saturday morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Car Doctor program on AM 950 WROL, the spirit of Boston, or maybe you're listening on 100.3 FM, maybe you're listening online, WROLradio.com, maybe you're listening on the app, maybe you've told Alexa to tune into AM 950 WROL, and you can hear us there. Of course, past programs, you can find them all over the place. Just do a little search for Car Doctor Radio, and you'll find me on iTunes or whatever it's called these days, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Stitcher, a variety of places if you want to listen to past programs. I know I got a email from someone this past week that was interested in going car buying, and I asked him, hey, maybe you should take a listen to the program where we're talking about car buying. And they did that, and that all worked out good. They said they learned a lot. So this is where you can also learn things, so you can see what's going on there and look at all kinds of different stuff. So all kinds of good things. And with us on the phone is Brandon Salls. He is the art director and takes care of the exhibits at the Saratoga Auto Museum. And they have a pretty interesting car auction coming up and some pretty interesting cars. So first off, I want to welcome Brandon to the program. Brandon, good morning and welcome to the Car Doctor program here in Boston.
Good morning, John. How's it going today?
Good. Things are going great. First off, let's talk about the Saratoga Auto Museum. Where is Saratoga?
Saratoga Springs, we are 30 minutes north of Albany, just south of beautiful Lake George, right at the foothills of the Adirondack Mountains. We share a parking lot with the Saratoga Performing Arts Center, if anybody has gone and seen a concert at SPAC. So that's where we're located.
That's where you're located. Okay, good, because I know there's a lot that goes on up around your end of the world up there, so I wanted to kind of give people a little perspective where you are. Give us an idea what the auto museum's like.
So the museum opened in 2001 or 2002 in that area. We change exhibits every 6 months, so there's always something new and fresh to look at and experience. The mission of the museum is cars raced in New York and cars that were made New York. And most people don't know, pre-Depression time, New York was kind of the Detroit of the country. There was over 250 makes and models made in New York State. So we celebrate those cars, and then all the racetracks and racers from New York State. That's the second floor of the museum. The first floor we rotate every 6 months. Right now we have a 60s exhibit going on. So we're celebrating everything from the culture of the 60s, everything that was going on in the automotive world, in this country, and around the world. So we've really got some excellent cars on display right now. We have a Toyota GT, which was a Bond car. I'm not sure which Bond movie it was in, but there was only 72 of those GTs made. It was the first supercar from Japan. And then we also have a Jaguar E-Type. We have a 21-window Volkswagen bus. And then we have a car called the Plymouth XNR concept car, which is a really interesting concept car that Plymouth made. So there's a really nice selection of cars. We always have something new. On the weekends, there's always a car show going on. So it's kind of a little hub of the community for the car enthusiasts.
Yeah, it really sounds interesting, and that the Volkswagen, I don't know, value-wise, I don't know what's worth more these days, the very limited production GT or the Volkswagen 21-window microbus. Those two cars have insane value.
Yeah, they're definitely, they fetch six figures easy now. The one we have in the exhibit is definitely a pristine example that's been fully restored it's absolutely perfect. Every nut and bolt has been either refinished or replaced. Definitely looks better than it probably came off the showroom floor for sure.
Yeah.
The Toyota. So the Toyota was actually debuted at the '64 Tokyo Auto Show, and after the show, it was given to Twiggy, the British model who unveiled the car at that show. So it was actually owned by the very famous model from the '60s, Twiggy.
Well, that brings a lot of history to it, and for people of a certain age, they remember Twiggy, and kind of her name was she was very, very thin.
She was the first little petite thin model. Yep, that was her MO. And the car is on loan from Toyota. So we've got a great relationship with them, and they just gave us the car and said have fun with it. So it's really it was my kind of pick for the show. I'm like, we've got to find a 2000 GT. So we found it, and they shipped it to us from Texas.
Oh wow, that's real interesting. And as you got involved with the museum, were you kind of a car person? Were you a museum person? Were you a combination of both? How did you get involved? How did you get this job that sounds really interesting?
So I started with the museum 13 years ago, actually, and it was by happenstance. I wasn't necessarily a quote-unquote car guy. Mm-hmm. Definitely now, like, I have to kind of digest the history of the exhibits to design it properly so it has the right look and feel. So I kind of have a lot of the history in my head. I absolutely love it. I actually have a T-bucket in my garage. So it's been a long road at the museum, and with the auction that we've started 3 years ago, it's really kind of transformed what we can do and what our reach is financially and stuff like that. So it's really been a pretty crazy ride.
Yeah, it sounds like it has. And speaking of T-buckets, let's talk about, you have an auction coming up in September, I think, right?
Yes. So the auction that we run, called the Saratoga Auto Auction, it's on stage at the Saratoga Performing Arts Center, and it runs the 21st and 22nd are the days of the auction. On the 19th, we have a David Hobbs dinner, so he's going to be there. He drove kind of the big car that we have in the auction, the 1969 Mirage BRM, which is a race car that came right before the Porsche 917 came out. And that car kind of took over the Mirage BRM. So we have a big dinner that Thursday night, and then the auction is Friday and Saturday. And then on the 22nd, we have a post-sale and a car show. So anything that didn't sell on the block, you can show up on that Sunday and try to shake a deal with the owners.
Well, it sounds like some hard negotiations you have to go through for that. But one of the cars you have in the auction is kind of a cool car, and you said you have a T-bucket, but this is sort of an interesting T-bucket because it was cover art on the Ventures, which if people don't know the Ventures, they were a pretty famous surf band back in the 60s.
Yeah, I mean, this car is probably one of the top 3 or 5 hot rods ever built. It was built by Fred Steele on the East Coast on 58 and 59. As a teenager, they built this car, and it is 100% original right now. It's a beautiful car. I got to drive it about a week ago. And it was on 3 other album covers, too. Nothing like the Ventures. I think the Ventures in 64 were one of the bigger bands out there. But it's got 2 people overlooking LA, sitting in the T-bucket, and it's really indicative of kind of what those cars kind of exemplified during that area and today. It's a really special car. It's quite a sight. It's kind of an off-white car with pinstriping, and it's really fun. I call the T-bucket the smile machine because everybody that looks at them and sees them smiles when we drive by. So.
Yeah, and depending, and this is this sounds like a pretty phenomenal car because they're one of those cars too that is they can be put together a little bit rough and maybe not the most fun to drive, or if they're done very professionally, they can drive almost like a modern car, right?
You are correct. So the one I have is definitely a more of a modern car. It has disc brakes. You'd call it a kit car. It's got a fiberglass tub, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But this car is all steel. It's a 100-year-old car. It'll turn 100 in 2020.
Wow.
The lights on the back are the original kerosene lights that's what powered your lights back in 1920. Was kerosene gas was attached to the frame, and you turned that gas on and you actually lit the lamps. And that's how you got your light to drive.
And people complain about having bad headlights now. They have no idea what it was like back then. Yeah.
And people. Yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, people just really don't. People don't know that. Back then, to make your headlights work better, you had to get out every once in a while and polish the reflectors, so the lamp would throw a little bit more light on the road. And now people either say, "Oh, my headlights aren't bright enough because I can't see a mile down the road."
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Back then, it was really just trying to get the car to function and work properly, and they were still testing things, and obviously safety was not paramount at all back then, but it was more just trying to get the car to go down the road as efficient as possible, and this car in particular to have fun with it.
Yeah, it sounds good. Now, not everybody can afford to bid on a classic T-Bucket or some of the other cars, and sometimes other things in the automotive hobby, Petroliana and things like that, come up for auction. Are you guys also including things like that in your auction?
There's something for everybody, for sure. We have everything from, a $5,000 BMW up to this year. We've just got a really serious car, the '69 Golf Mirage that I mentioned, and that'll fetch hopefully $1.3 million.
That's well out of my ability to pay for that. So, but I always like seeing things. Every once in a while you see pedal cars and you see gas pumps and you see the globes that go on gas pumps come up in some auctions, and sometimes you can find that you might like the automotive hobby, but you might live in an apartment or a condo, but you can set aside a little part of your home and you can collect some pretty cool stuff that can bring back memories. And that's a lot of when people own a car, whether it's a car from the 50s or 60s, it's something they've always maybe wanted or lusted after, and maybe they can't afford it, but they can afford maybe a piece of it. And that always makes auctions to me sort of interesting. And we can't all go out and buy a $1.3 million car, but maybe we can go out and buy a $200 globe off a gas pump.
Absolutely, John. And it's a great event, particularly our auction, and we do have a lot of memorabilia and automobilia that you can purchase. There's gas pumps, like you said, posters from Le Mans and some of the older races that I definitely gravitate towards being a designer. But being at the Performing Arts Center, it's you're in a stadium, if you will, with 5,000 seats, I think. There might be 7, but give or take. But everybody's got a great view. We built some ramps to drive them up on stage, and it's unlike probably any other auction that happens, where we just have access to this beautiful Performing Arts Center, and it really kind of sets the stage for a cool spectator event.
Yeah, it does really sound interesting. And is it too late for consignments?
No, our catalog deadline is August 1st, so you can still get into the catalog, and we accept consignments after that, but you definitely want to try to get into the catalog. But people are shopping the website, and so if something comes after that August 1st deadline, it'll still get promoted and advertised out there through our digital advertising and stuff like that we do.
Well, speaking of which, if you can't get up to the Saratoga Auto Auction, is there a way that you can bid over the phone or online?
Yeah, absolutely. You can leave an absentee bid. So if you really like, say, the 33 Ford Cabriolet that we have, you could say, hey, I'd like to make a bid. Here's my high offer. And that bid gets submitted during the auction. You can bid by phone. So what happens is you register to be a phone bidder, and then you tell us what cars that you are interested in, and we call you when they're on the block. And then someone like myself will be talking to you during the bidding process, and I kind of raise my hand when you're ready to hop in on the bidding. And then you can also bid on your own through the computer through proxy bid. Mm-hmm. And we have there's a camera that you watch in that on that website, and you can do your bidding through proxy bid as well. And then if you just want to watch the auction, we have a live stream that you can watch that's right on our website that you can find through SaratogaAutoAuction.org. And you can just watch the computer on your TV or on your computer as well.
It must be kind of fun being the person who's bidding for someone else, because as the person who's on the phone, you must get as excited as they do, and even better, you're spending someone else's money rather than your own. So, so there's going to be so there's going to be a lot of emotion involved, because all of a sudden now you're getting wrapped up, and I suppose it's hard to say to somebody, you're on the phone with them, and maybe you're $500 or $1,000 away from a winning bid, going, come on, just another 1,000. But I guess you really can't do that. Yeah.
Well, no, that's exactly what you have to do, John.
Oh.
The start of the conversation is, all right, where is your ceiling? And if it's, if you're talking about a $100,000 car, that $1,000 or $500 might not mean much. But if you're in that, BMW or Cadillac, 88 Cadillac, that might only be going for $5,000. That extra $500 might be a lot to that person, but you kind of coach them through it, and it is exciting. You're up on stage, kind of making the bid for them, and it's really interesting to do.
I bet that is, and it again, when you win that bid for that customer, you must feel as elated as they do.
It's awesome. There's high fives going, and especially when we had some big cars last year from a collection that we had, Dennis Damerman collection, and there was 44 cars, all at no reserve. So they were all going to sell, and they all went for pretty good money, and it was really exciting to be a part of.
It sounds really great. So the date of the auction is when?
The dates are Friday, September 20th, and Saturday the 21st. And then the post-sale and the car show is on Sunday the 22nd. So
perfect time for people to go up and enjoy maybe a little bit of the cooler weather in the area up there. And I'm sure there are some delightful places to stay right around the museum.
There's a lot, and that's when the racetrack is over. We have the Saratoga horse racing. So the rates go down probably by half, which is always good. And we're 3 hours from Boston, so it's a nice little trip down 90. And 90 takes you right to Albany, and then you just come north about 25 minutes from there.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it's going to be a great thing. I won't be able to get there, but I think I'm going to be able to check it out online and see what it's all about. And the museum itself, I was just looking online, and it looks like a beautiful place to go. And for people that have the opportunity, I think all around the country there is some fantastic auto museums that maybe don't get sometimes don't have the notoriety of some of the huge museums, whether it's something as much as just some of the really famous ones. But on the other hand, when you look at museums like yours, you look at the Heritage Plantation in Sandwich, Lars Anderson in Boston, Wells Auto Museum, there are some great museums around the country that if you only had the time to be able to visit all of them and see what car culture is all about, and see some of the history that goes into cars, and whether it's a museum that focuses on something like the Stanley Steamer Museum, just to go kind of learn about steam cars, or to go just learn about design, where some museums kind of focus more on design, or their exhibit focuses on design, and you look at it and you wonder how people came up with that and how that design is timeless. I think it's all just fascinating, and it gives people really a good opportunity to learn and enjoy what is really over 120 years of history of the automobile. So really kind of some fun stuff.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable. And you mentioned the Lars Anderson, and they've got, I mean, that building is just so historic, and the stuff that they have there, and the family that own that building, and they put on some great car shows there too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the folks there are always a big supporter of the New England Motor Press, which I'm the president of, and we just work well together, and to be able to see some of the things that goes on there. It's always just a good time to get into some of these museums, and again, just sort of enjoy what is, for a lot of people, a little bit of history that, it's not conventional. It's automobiles are a big part of everything that we do, and sometimes they're, the day that really an automobile turns into an appliance like a washing machine, I think will be pretty disappointing. And personally, I don't think it's ever going to happen, but time will tell.
I don't either. The car definitely changed the world, and we just installed an exhibit called Wheels and Women, and how the suffrage movement for women was really spread easier by the automobile. They were able to go farther and spread their message, and really the billboards, essentially, where they would make these banners and tie them to the side of the car, and drive around and go from town to town to fight for the right for women to vote. So, and the automobile was a big catalyst to that.
Yeah, no, it sounds fantastic. The museum and the way you have things laid out. I'm looking at some of the pictures. It is kind of a combination art museum. I think the only thing I've seen similar to this, similar but different, is Gunther, who has the Newport Auto Museum in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. His wife really wanted it to be kind of art museum-like inside, and some of the pictures you have and some of the artwork you have kind of reflects that same idea. Really fabulous stuff. Your website is saratogaautomuseum.org, and the hours of the museum, when are you guys open?
In the summer, we are open 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 5. And then in the off season, in the winter, we're closed Mondays and Tuesdays.
Yeah. And how do I win a Maserati?
You can go on to our website. Tickets are $20, or I should say a chance is $20. You don't really get a ticket. But that's raising money for the museum. We have a lot of defensive driving programs where we take these simulators to schools and teach young drivers how to drive safely. So they get on a simulator, and we put them in situations where they have to react, and they have to think about, a ball rolling out into the street, so on and so forth. So that's kind of a big initiative, and that's really where the proceeds for this auction go, is to the museum. We're educating people about, like the exhibit that I just mentioned, the suffrage exhibit, and then also we take these distracted driving simulators to schools and try to keep people safe. I drive this T-Bucket, and the phone is definitely a problem, and being so open and being able to look around, you definitely see it all the time, and so that's a big thing with the museum, and we're really trying to help that initiative, if you will.
Years ago, and this is totally off topic, and I could be completely wrong, but years ago, was the museum run by a former Mazda PR guy?
Steve Potter, does that ring a bell?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
So yeah, he was definitely in the automotive world, and he was. Yeah. I don't know if he was the first or second, but Yes, he was there. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Steve Potter did PR for Mazda, and one of his claims to fame of being a PR guy, they actually had a little car that fit into a suitcase that could turn into an actual car. So very Jetson-like.
I don't know that one.
Yeah. If he ever comes into the museum, ask him about a suitcase car. I think they built I think they built 3 or 4 of them. So, interesting guy, and I know he was. I thought he was there for a little while. So I was.
Yes, he was.
Stretching my memory a little bit. Hey, Brandon, thanks for taking time out of your Saturday morning and joining us here in Boston, and best of luck with the museum. And again, the website where you can find out all the information about the auction, the museum, the exhibits, some of your events, and even if you want to rent the event, rent the museum for an event, maybe a pretty cool place for a wedding, I bet. SaratogaAutomuseum.org.
Great. Thank you very much, John.
All right, take care. Bye-bye now. That was Brandon Salls. He is the art director and works with exhibit development for the Saratoga Auto Museum. That to me is one of those little bit of a best kept secret museum. It is really one of those things that you look at, you think about, and you go, where is that? I know about Saratoga for horse racing, but I didn't know anything about it for cars. Or maybe I know about it for a beverage company, but I don't know anything about cars. But in fact, there is this fabulous car museum up in Saratoga, New York. So you can go check it out and see what it is. And, maybe you'll be able to buy a 1969 Mirage V12 driven by David Hobbs, but only if you have 1.3 million or so. So I know that's out of my ballpark. But when we come back from taking a break, I've been driving for a day or two a Range Rover Autobiography, and I want to see what some other people think about that Range Rover. And I think I hear the Ventures. So you can check out the Ventures album and the T-Bucket that's on the cover, and you can buy that too. My name's John Paul. This is the Car Doctor. You're listening on AM 950 WROL, the Spirit of Boston.
On the other side of the street I knew stood a girl that looked like you. I guess that's deja vu, but I thought this can't be true, cause you moved to West LA or New York.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program on AM 950 WROL, the Spirit of Boston. If you want to give us a call, 617-770-3030. 617-770-3030 is our phone number. Well, I mentioned a Range Rover, and it's a particular edition. It's called the Autobiography edition. And I was looking at, actually it was Boston.com, my own sometimes publication. And it says, in this ongoing series, Boston.com talks with automotive authorities about why you should consider driving or avoiding a specific model. And this specific model is the Range Rover Autobiography. And as it says here, it's driven by moguls, movie stars, and royals, going glamping across the country, I guess, or at least going out to their country manor. In the car world, this top-of-the-line Land Rover represents the holiest combination of off-road prowess and unabashed luxury. The Range Rover Autobiography runs a 5-liter supercharged V8 engine that delivers 518 horsepower, and that's just a regular version. The range-topping Range Rover SV Autobiography Dynamic ekes out 557 horsepower. That's the one that I'm driving. The Imperial SUV accelerates from 0 to 60 in 5.1 seconds. This is a big, heavy car, and it has a top speed of only 130 miles an hour, so you can only go 130. There is a long wheelbase version. I'm driving the shorter wheelbase version, which it sits on 21-inch wheels, and it also has pretty tricky air suspension in it, so when you shut it off, it sinks down a little bit lower to get in and out of it a little bit easier. It's in this article, it says the two-row SUV seats 5 in supreme comfort on perforated semi-aniline leather. I don't even know what that is. But 5, I think, is a stretch. I think it really seats 4 in nice comfort. It has this sort of center console arrangement that you push a button in it, and it kind of flips up so you can put a 5th person in it. I had 5 people in it last night. It seemed a little cozy in the back seat. But all Autobiography models come with Land Rover's Touch Pro Duo infotainment system, which is 2 10-inch screens as well as Bluetooth navigation, satellite radio, Wi-Fi hotspot, and a 29-speaker Meridian sound system. Oh, it sounds good, but it is the most aggravating system to use. For instance, if you want to change channels on the radio, there's no knob. You have to go to the touchscreen. If you want to adjust the heated and cooled seats, my passenger in the car, he was actually adjusting the rear seat temperature from the front seat, and probably, because he was a passenger, he could do this, but probably took his eyes off the road for, I don't know, 30 seconds or so. So depending on where you're driving, that could be like 2 streetlights, a stop sign, and a pedestrian that you just went by. So, I mean, as nice as the way the end result is, it is not distraction friendly. It just adds to a lot of distraction. The voice feature and steering wheel controls help somewhat, but it is to add a knob, please. It would just make things a little bit easier, and add a couple other redundant buttons. I think that would help a lot too. But it is sort of the way it is. The rear seat entertainment unit, and this is what this has, also had the reason it flips out of the way or doesn't flip out of the way for the 5th passenger, the middle seat passenger. It is a refrigerated center console, so you can keep your whatever back there chilled, just in case. But it is an interesting vehicle, certainly. They claim that it will deliver 16 miles per gallon in the city, 21 miles per gallon on the highway. On the normal version, the SV Autobiography, again, the version that I'm driving, 13 city, 19 highway. I'm a whole lot closer to the 13 city part for overall. Now, most of my driving has been city type driving with only a little bit of highway. The cost of this vehicle, about $178,000. So I suppose if I was able to do that, maybe I might actually be willing to go to an auction for $1 million car. But I'm not, and I'm never going to be. So, and I've resigned myself to that fact. But it is kind of fun driving a car that's this expensive. Here's what some other people have said, and this comes from Boston.com by way of, in this case, Kelly Blue Book. The executive editor of the Range Rover Autobiography is a premium luxury vehicle first, a capable off-road vehicle second, as strikingly attractive as its substantial, Hollywood calls a stage presence. The largest Land Rover boasts a gorgeous interior appointments, all designed to pamper your occupants within its lightweight aluminum skin, while the standard supercharged V8 provides ample power. Yeah, I think 500 horsepower is ample power, and standard air suspension delivers a blissful ride. Its legendary off-road attitude of a renowned British automaker, with you'll arrive at your destination with or without a paved road. This is the car, when I was talking to the folks from Rolls-Royce, this is the car that maybe people with a certain amount of money will move up to when they want to, they'll be in this car and they'll move up to, say, like a Rolls-Royce Culligan. According to the senior sales specialist at Land Rover in Sudbury, now this is the guy who sells them, he says, while standard with all sorts of features that empowers you to be able to climb mountains and feel like royalty while doing it, the Range Rover Autobiography is a rolling estate. Refined interior might make you want to be chauffeured to your daily appointments. Yes, it has rear seat footrests too. And it has a pretty decent cargo area in the back, so you can, certainly take it skiing and in all kinds of places. It's a 1,700 watt sound system. It certainly is. It's an interesting vehicle, but as nice as it is, I think there are places that there is some room for improvement. Yeah, it handles amazingly well for the size that it is. It rides firm, sort of sports sedan firm, so it doesn't quite soak up the bumps in our less than perfect New England roads. Fuel economy, you can afford a $175,000 car. What does gas mileage mean to you? Nothing at all. So, but as far as it's a pretty easy car to drive. It's pretty formidable size-wise. You feel like you're in a pretty serious size car, and it is. Front seats are comfortable. It even has a shihatsu massage function. Should you want that? I've never found that to be anything I've ever wanted in a car. Our phone number again, 617-770-3030, 617-770-3030. Let's go over to the phones. Good morning. You're on the Car Doctor program. Hello.
Hi there, Mr.
Hi
President.
There. Hey, how are you?
Okay, Annette. I came up. There's an interesting automobile museum that you may find interesting, Annette. It's in Fort Eustis, Virginia. It's the U.S. Military Transportation Museum.
Oh, okay.
And it covers military vehicles from the Revolutionary War up to present.
Wow.
There are any planes back in the Revolutionary War?
Oh, come on, Dennis.
And that they had 1 to 4 horsepower vehicles back then.
Yeah, with real horses sometimes. Yeah, the it's kind of funny. Glenn Gould, whose father, Glenn Gould, used to who started the Wells Auto Museum right up in Wells, Maine. It's a pretty nondescript kind of metal buildings, tucked off the side of the road up in Wells, not far from the main diner. And it is in the back of that museum. They actually have a very good collection of military vehicles up there too. So they have some pretty good stuff. So yeah, when you can see a little bit of American history, whether it's military history or some of the vehicles, I saw what I would guess was probably a Korean War vintage Jeep driving around the last couple days, and I don't know if there was something wrong with it, and I've never driven one of those, but it looked like all you could do to turn the steering wheel. It looked like a pretty tough car to make a real tight U-turn in. So.
Yeah, they can be in that. They at one time had all 4 wheels were independent suspension, and they found that taking the corner too fast made it flip over real easy.
You don't want to have that happen. Yeah.
No, and so, that.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy to hear that finally Massachusetts had decided, oh, gee, if you got a conviction for drunk driving or something else in another state, we're going to take away your CDL.
Yeah, well, they were going to do that anyway. They just kind of, things weren't going so good at the Registry of Motor Vehicles. So, yeah.
Yeah,
so.
And it said it took a tragedy to get them off their butts.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with you there. That's been a tough time, and just the idea that this person was convicted of drunk driving a bunch of times, and the paperwork never got to where it was supposed to be. And I know probably some of it had to do with the computer systems at the registry. And I don't know that I know the acronyms correctly. They were going from maybe ALARS to Atlas, the 2 different systems, and maybe they kept saying, "Oh, we'll enter in all this information once we get the new system in place." And it's about 50% in place now, and maybe that had something to do with it. But you can't. there's some things you can kind of put on a back burner, but the importance of someone's license, and I guess they just suspended another couple hundred licenses. So yeah.
Yeah, the news that I came across this morning said that almost 900 have lost their license, and I'm a volunteer over at one of the VA hospitals, and my boss, who's a full-time employee, she took Wednesday off because she attended the funeral for that couple because she knew them.
Oh yeah. I didn't know. I can't say I knew any of them, but I met the guy who was a former police officer from Plymouth. So it's tragedy can strike close to home, and how this happened, and just a terrible thing. But maybe out of a horrible tragedy, a little bit of good will come and get some other bad people off the road. Even at AAA in the last week or so, we had one of our drivers was loading a car onto a ramp truck, and someone hit the dual rear wheels and literally sheared the rear wheels off the back of the truck. Our driver didn't get injured in that one, but in a second one on a fairly busy 2-lane road at about 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, he was doing the same thing, loading a car on a ramp truck, got out of the car and got hit. So in that case, the people actually took off. And left our guy by the side of the road, and it's just that at 2 o'clock in the morning, he will be. It's going to take some time, but but it's at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's in a lot of cases. You can pretty much guarantee there's some level of impairment, whether it's drugs or alcohol, whatever the case is, and
being tired.
He's just plain being tired. But I'm willing to bet in one case it may have been the person was tired. In the second case where the people took off, I'm probably guessing that is not the case. And from what I understand, the police have found at least 2 of the 4 occupants that were in the car. So. Whenever the authorities have a chance to suspend a license for a previous conviction, and it ends up getting put in a basket somewhere, that kind of in the "we'll get to it" file, it just is never a great thing. So again, hopefully, out of all of this, they'll work to get the system working better, and that's all we can hope for. Hey, Rick, thanks for the call.
Let me give you a heads up. In New Hampshire, from Laconia to, I think, Randolph is the name of the community where they had that accident. There's going to be a ride, and I understand that already hundreds and hundreds of motorcyclists have signed up for it.
Yeah, so, that's what I hear too. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something that be aware. If you're up in New Hampshire, be aware of that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Rick, as always, thanks for calling in.
Okay, have a good one, John. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye. Our phone number is 617-770-3030, 617-770-3030. Remember, next weekend, July 14th, from 7 to 2 at the Endicott Estate is the Bay State Antique Auto Club show, the auto show. There's a car corral, a flea market, a food court, ice cream, 50-50 raffle, live entertainment featuring cruising Bruce Palmer. It is brought to you in part by the Dedham Savings Bank, which has been a sponsor for a long time, and always a good show because they have it nicely split up between brass era cars, Model A's, 32 to 63 modifieds, stock cars from 32 to 45 Woodies. If you've ever considered buying a Woody, this is a good place to go and learn about them. Last time I was there, they had a lot of them there. T-Birds from 55 to 57 and newer ones from 58 to 66. Corvettes, just about everything right up until 82. All categories of Mustangs right up until 94. Corvair has its own category, which is kind of interesting. And then they have a stock class of 55 to 57. Commercial vehicles, a few of those always show up. Pro street machines, T-rods, hot rods of all kinds, customs, kit cars, and Lincoln. And then there's going to be some other vehicles that are going to be judged from Studebaker to Pontiac Packard. Even Ford Crown Victoria has its own category. And one of the categories that isn't going to be judged is the newer Corvettes, but that's there's a lot of those. So interesting stuff. So vendor registrations at 6, auto registrations at 7. Judging begins at 10:30. Trophies get presented at 2. You must be on the field and in class before 10 o'clock to be judged. If you want to find out more information about the Bay State Antique Auto Club car show, go to www.bsaac.com and you can find out all about it. And it's a little donation to get in, and there is a free shuttle to go back and forth to the car show. You park down the street and take the shuttle. Easy to get to in Dedham, right off of exit 14 off of East Street. So easy to get to. Let's talk to Mike. Mike, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing, Doctor?
Good. How are you?
Good. Just kind of a really quick question. Not hoping that's too much of a hot potato. I had a 4th of July party and had some people over. Unfortunately, my sister-in-law showed up, and her Pontiac had a bad leak on the brake line going into the tire. So I had to have it towed. And I called AAA because of course I'm a member. Yep. And I told them to tow it up to Sullivan Tire. The woman on the line said that Sullivan Tire is not a AAA recommended station. Is that correct?
That is. They AAA after many not AAA, Sullivan Tire after many years decided to drop out of the AAA approved auto repair program. Not for it. It has nothing to do with the quality of service. They just decided that one of the things that AAA auto repair facilities do is they provide up to a $50 discount. It's based on a percentage of labor, I think. Sullivan Tire just didn't want to do that. I know we have a tentative appointment to kind of revisit with them again because they were always a great partner. If there was ever a problem, they always stepped right up. And for a large business, Sullivan Tire always I don't know of any company that provides more training to their employees than they do. They have some great training programs in place. Whether it's something, and I'll say this kind of in an odd way, something as simple as an oil change, which is not really simple, and it is something that when done improperly can cause a problem. They actually have a 3-day class about how to do an oil change correctly and what to look for, and making sure you're using the right oil for that particular vehicle and all of that. So they're really, it really is. They do a great job, and in fact, they just started a new business now of sorts where they go out to body shops and even some dealerships where when a car with these advanced driver assistance systems like Dennis has in his new car, they do all of the calibration work. So they are as high-tech as you can get. And, I was somebody who actually brought Sullivan Tire on board years ago to the AAA approved repair program, and I have since stepped away from that program. But when I heard they weren't going to renew, I was a little disappointed because I always enjoyed our relationship, and there was a time, 40 years ago, I worked for them. So it's kind of interesting that a long time ago I worked for them, and I still run into their employees that still work there, which tells you their commitment to their customers and their employees. So yeah, they're not AAA approved anymore.
Okay, well. Just a quick comment, and I'll hang up. You're old enough to remember Jerry Williams on the radio, right?
I certainly am.
You could pick up one of his tapes from 40 years ago about the registry of motor vehicles and play it today, and it'll be perfectly set. Nothing would change on the commercial, right? I mean, every rule would be true from 40 years ago.
And that's probably the case. There's, people love to hate the registry sometimes, and unfortunately, or it's sometimes kind of easy. I remember I had a 1967 1966 Corvair, and I was in line and I wanted to get an antique plate for it. And when I went up and had my registration and everything, and I said to the woman behind the counter, she handed me the plate, and it was 19065. And I said, "Oh, that's kind of interesting. And this is a 1966 car. Can I get the next plate, which is 19066?" And she's like, "No, we can't do that." She said you'd have to wait in line and wait for another antique registration to come through. And I'm like, you just can't give me the next plate?" I said, "It's just the next one. I could see it. It's right there. I could see it." She said, "No, we can't do that." And again, it's it's sometimes being a little, sometimes a reputation happens because it happens, and but hopefully everything that goes on. I know people, who've had. People have some great experiences because there's a lot that goes on, and I think the new registrar who has since stepped down actually did a lot to make the registry a better place to do business with, including expanding some of the services that could be offered through us at AAA, for instance. So I think they were working in the right direction, but there's some stuff that still happens, and Jerry might have been right. Go ahead.
He was right. Final comment is my wife got her license renewed last week up at your Rockland AAA. Had a wonderful experience.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and that's one of our busier offices. And since everything that's happened at the registry, our offices have actually gotten a little bit busier because I think people are just a little concerned that maybe things are going to be over scrutinized at the registry offices now, or there's going to be some other issues. So, coming into the AAA office, I did it a month ago with my license. I did it actually a year ahead of time, so and I did the Real ID. I did it a year ahead of time, and it doesn't change the expiration. So I did it before the crowd for 2020, so it just made it a little bit easier.
That's what I wanted to. So mine's due next March, so smart idea would be get it done this year for sometime. Get
it done now because if it happens the way it's supposed to happen, Real ID is supposed to go into effect, which means there'll be kind of a crunch. You know how it is when people wait till the last minute. So you have between now and March to get it done. So and you have and then you can. Take your time and go online, fill out the form online, print it out so it's 3/4 done when you walk in, and have all your material with you, and you're good to go.
I did that for my wife. Thank you very much.
All right,
have a great week.
All right, you too.
As always.
You too. Bye. 617-770-3030. 617-770-3030. Dennis, where are we going?
We're going to Jim and then a commercial after that.
All right, let's go to Jim. Jim, good morning.
Good morning. I was listening to the show and you talked about the registry. Just a quick side note. I have vanity plates. I needed new ones because they're all worn out. I called up, talked to the girl. Took about 2 minutes. I was all finished. The vanity plates arrived in the mail. Nothing could have gone easier.
Yeah, so, there's times the registry of motor vehicles absolutely. I mean, all of my. There's been, like I said, the little funny story with trying to get the next plate over for an antique car. But most of the time, my experiences have all been good. But I think there's always this certain. I think people go into the registry sometimes already upset because they have to go there. I know I had to order a duplicate title. That was easy to do. Did it right online. That was simple. Yeah. I what's kind of nice is when I bought my new car last year, I got new plates for it because the old single green plate, which was still legal, was getting to the point where it probably wouldn't have gone through another inspection, and I canceled the plate online. So all I did is I went online, did all the paperwork, and it just said dispose of the plate in a environmentally friendly manner. Fold it in half so it can't be used. And for me, an old license plate always makes a good metal shield if you're soldering copper pipe or something. It keeps you from setting your house on fire. So So they're flexible enough where you can bend it behind something and not set something on fire. Yeah. So it goes in my bucket of plumbing tools. So. Handy for that. But some things, the registry, I think, over the years has done some things. The whole go online rather than wait in line a good system. They're open late one night, which helps a little bit, and then adding into the mix, having AAA be able to do some of their services, license renewals and things like that, takes some people out of the line there. So that just makes it easier. That just makes it easier all the way around. And we're open on Saturdays, so it takes that people that maybe would have gone in line on Thursday night, all of a sudden they're there on Saturday mornings. So whenever you can, let the line get a little bit shorter and make it a little bit easier for people. Yeah, I think this isn't a bash the registry. The registry had a problem, and they're going to correct it. So, but it's
coming along. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming along. Exactly.
On the green plate, a good friend of mine, you mentioned that he took his car off the road, put the green plate, and sent it to someone, and it's having it refurbished.
Yeah, that's not actually legal.
Okay. Well, he was telling me he was doing it. But that's another note.
Yeah. You can actually. There's actually a company in Florida that does duplicate plates, and they'll do up to the green plate, and they're not legal, but they look identical. Even they have that little bit of reflectivity to them. And I was talking to. I'm the president of the Massachusetts Safety Officers League, and we were talking to one of the police officers in the league, and he said, "Oh yeah, I can always tell the reproduction plates because in Massachusetts we make a K a little bit different. The way we put the bottom leg on the K is a little bit different." And he kind of looked at it and said, "I don't know why they don't allow those, because as long as it ties to the registration and it's easy to read, that's all we want as police officers. We want them easy to read. So I don't know why we can't do that." So same thing, having the plate refurbished. Technically, you're never supposed to alter a plate. In fact, I talked to a guy one time who went out and the green numbers were all worn out, so he went to a paint store, bought the same color. Now, of course, it wasn't the same perfect markings, and he got pulled over for altering a plate. He didn't get a ticket. They just told him he can't do that. Go out and get a good plate. But still, So I guess if it's refurbished and it looks 100% like it's supposed to, who would know?
Yeah. Well, the reason for my call is the CRV Honda. I guess it's not 1819 vehicle. Something about the gas getting into the. I have it. I have an older CRV. I'm thinking of moving up, and then I started to read all this about the problem they're having, and I just was wondering what your thoughts on that are. Have you heard much about it?
As far as I know, the problem's been corrected. They fixed it with software. But what happens is the cars are very, very efficient. The engine's very, very efficient, and a little bit of excessive gas somehow ended up in the oil. And people said it was so bad you could smell it. I don't understand how that's awfully diluted at that point. But it's only on cars that are driven, like literally if you drove from your house to the train station a mile every day, and that's the only kind of driving you did, and the oil doesn't heat up enough to actually evaporate any of the contaminants out of the oil. But if you're somebody who drives 10,000 miles a year and it's a mix of highway and city driving, you're never going to see the problem. But for people who drive routinely really, really short distances, that's where the problem was.
Okay.
And from what I understand, Honda figured out how to play with their software. And why that can't happen immediately is once they do any kind of change to software like that, it has to be all EPA tested again to make sure it's going to pass all the EPA numbers. So it can't be like, oh, we know how to fix it, just go into your dealer and fix it. They have to make sure it's been certified first. So, but from what I understand, the newer models, the problem's corrected right from day one. The 18s, you had to come back in and have them recalibrate it, and the problem's been fixed. I haven't heard of any long-term issues with, any kind of like engine wear or anything like that, because again, I don't understand how it can happen. The other thing is the oil in those engines, I think, is 0.15 weight oil, so it's this really, really thin oil, which probably doesn't like being contaminated with anything. So It's all about fuel economy and the emissions these days. And yeah, I think if you want to go sell your old CRV and buy a new one for 2019, I don't think you're going to have a problem.
Sounds good. Oh,
okay. All right. Take care, Jim. All right. Bye-bye. 617-770-3030, 617-770-3030. Why don't we take a break? When we come back, I want to hear about Dennis's new Nissan Rogue with autopilot and see if it really drives itself. My name's John Paul. This is the Car Doctor program. You're listening on AM 950 WROL, the Spirit of Boston. And welcome back to the Car Doctor program on AM 950 WROL, the Spirit of Boston. My name is John Paul, the Car Doctor. I was just looking at the Boston Globe this morning, and or looking at my email this morning. It says somebody just read my article in the Globe and assumes I don't want to take any static from auto dealers. I probably should be more thoughtful of that, but I don't really. I just try to answer questions the way I try to answer them, and if they're biased towards one way or the other, it's just the way I try to answer the questions. So I don't try to favor auto dealers versus independent shops. They both have a place, and they're both there to do what they're supposed to do. So anyway, I'll have to read more of that and see what that's all about. Also, I got a call from another radio guy yesterday who said to me, hey, can you give me some torque specifications I'm doing some brake work on my daughter's Dodge Caravan, and I'm looking for the brake caliper, slide bolt torque, the brake mounting torque, and the banjo bolt that holds the brake line onto the caliper itself. He said, everywhere I look, I just get numbers like snug or tight or something. And he said, I want the actual foot-pounds of torque. And it's good to actually hear that. It's good to actually see that people actually really use torque settings, because they use those numbers for a reason, to make sure that things are tight in the way they're supposed to be, and it's important to do that. But so I gave him all the information he needed. He was all happy. So I guess he's going to be doing brake work this morning. So good for him. Dennis bought a new car, or leased a new car, or you have a new car.
Yes.
And it has Nissan ProPilot Assist.
Yes.
Which you can't quite take a nap yet, but no. Pretty good though, right?
Oh, it's amazing. I had to go to Concord, so I was going up 95 north from Quincy, and I put it on just to see, and you could feel it lock onto the car in front of you, and it kept you at a good distance, and if another car came in, it would automatically slow down, or if the car started slowing down, you would slow down. The really weird part is when the road started turning, the car turned. It was spectacular. I was really, at first I was a little weird about it, but then I got used to it. And you're right, you can't quite take a nap. Because if you take your hands off the wheel for more than, I'd say, 2 seconds, all of a sudden the dashboard lights up red, and if you don't put your hands back on right away, everything starts beeping at you, and eventually it'll disengage.
Yeah, it is pretty good. It's one of those things, though, I think, where automakers are maybe having a problem is your car is called ProPilot Assist. Tesla calls it Autopilot. Cadillac calls it Super Cruise. Volvo calls it something else. And all of the terminology, I think, is can be a little confusing to consumers when they go to buy this stuff, and they're like, well, does this car drive itself? It makes it, ProPilot, it makes it sound like it does, or Autopilot, it makes it sound like it does, and there's no state in the country where it says you can drive a car without having your hands on the steering wheel. So, it's a law that says you have to have at least one hand on the steering wheel. I got an email from some reporter in New York a couple of weeks ago, and there was a doctor who put a video on YouTube or somewhere, Facebook Live or something, and it shows him driving down the street in his new Tesla without touching the steering wheel. And Tesla is even a little more aggressive with their self-driving technology. If you set the cruise control and the navigation system, it will put on the turn signal when the exit's coming up and actually take you over to the exit and down the exit ramp. Not quite what your car does, Dennis,
No.
but still, and it shows this guy talking about how great it works without his hands on the wheel. And the reporter called me and said, can you tell me about the system? I said, first off, what he's doing is technically illegal because, well, first off, you can't be FaceTiming in your car while you're driving. A, illegal. B, you have to have at least one hand on the wheel. And C, if you look in the Tesla owner's manual, it says never take your hands off the steering wheel. Now, they say that, and they also kind of go, well, you can, but, our owner's manual tells you not to because the owner's manual is probably written by lawyers. So, but it is, if you're going to, because where do you go? Virginia Beach or somewhere? Sometimes
Hilton Head Island.
Hilton,
sometimes.
yeah. So it could make for a nice, more comfortable ride, knowing that you set your cruise control at whatever 70, and you're leaving tons of space between you and the car in front of you. And if somebody cuts in front of you, so all of a sudden the car makes up for it, even if you're not paying 100% attention. So right. Yeah, it does. They're interesting features, and I think maybe part of it is it's getting the public a little bit used to. Maybe someday there will be totally self-driving cars where you can actually set your cruise control and your navigation from here to Hilton Head Island and not have to pay attention for the entire trip. But until then, it's going to be a while.
Yeah, I have no doubt that that's what this step is. And also, I'm going to D.C. in a couple weeks. We were going to go to Ohio, but we transferred that to D.C. instead. And since driving up that 95 corridor can be challenging on the brake and gas and all that, I cannot wait to put this thing on and just kind of not really relax, but not be as strained.
Yeah, no, if you can take some of the tension out of driving, why not? It's a pretty good thing. Yeah. No. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I got a text from a friend who just recently also purchased a vehicle, and they want to know, do you know what the average commission rate is for a salesperson at a dealership? I do not.
Okay. I do not. I don't know if it's... I don't. That's one I have no idea. So, yeah, I think it varies. There's some salespeople that are just paid salary. Some salespeople are paid salary plus incentive. Some salespeople are paid a little tiny salary and all incentive. Maybe one of our listeners was in the car selling business at one point, and they can give us a call and let us know what they were making at the time. The old days of the dealership making thousands and thousands of dollars on a car sale, and also getting a demo car to drive, those days are gone. They're making some money, but it's not like the old days. So I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, and I was talking to the salespeople that I was working with at I'll drop it. It's Quirk Nissan, and there's no way I could ever be a car salesperson at all. I mean, they live in the store. Like, they don't leave ever.
Yeah, they actually have to, because to be good at what you do, and you talk to very successful car people, and even before there was electronics to kind of take advantage of it, they're sending you birthday cards, they're sending you reminder notices, they want to become your your car salesman for life. The problem is they don't always stay in the same store. And the where I bought my car, the sales guy's still there, but the sales manager left Prime and went over to Bach, which isn't really Bach, but Bach name stores, and went over there. So they move around a little bit, and sometimes they take their for want of a better word, their index card catalog with them and say, hey, look, if you're thinking about buying, replacing that car that I sold you 3 years ago, come over to the new dealership where I am, because there's nothing better than what I have for sale right now. So, it'd be interesting, to see. I know, it could be, in some cases, like when I bought my car, the sales manager or the F&I manager told me they lost $1,200 on the sale. So if the dealership lost $1,200, what does the sales guy get?
True.
Not a lot.
And yeah. So the other someone just called in. They didn't want to go on the air. When is the Endicott Estate Car Show again?
The Endicott Show is going to take place July 14th from 7 a.m. to 2. Okay. And that's at the Endicott Estate. Easiest way, just get off at exit 14. And so off of 128, take exit 14 for East Street, and just follow the signs. It's pretty easy to find. So there you go. That's how you get to it. Speaking of Tesla, Tesla has a secret lab, according to CNBC, to build its own battery cells to reduce dependence on Panasonic. Tesla is developing the means to manufacture its own battery cells. Current and recent employees told CNBC the main component of an EV is its battery pack and battery cells. Since 2014, Tesla has mostly relied on its partner Panasonic to produce battery cells for its vehicles and clean energy products. Tesla is developing the means to manufacture its own battery cells, according to 5 current and recent employees, something electric vehicle manufacturers relied on Panasonic to do since the company signed an extensive agreement in 2014. This move could help Tesla offer cheaper, higher performance electric vehicles than it does today without having to pay or share data and resources with outside vendors and partners. The battery packs and battery cells are the main component in an electric vehicle. The company has been battery constrained in the past, according to Elon Musk. They said the lack of batteries limited Tesla's production and sales of electric vehicles and energy storage system, the power walls and power packs. Making its own battery cells would also fit Musk's general ambition to make Tesla a vertically integrated as possible. I think what it really means is it would make Elon Musk and Tesla sort of take over the world, but that's just me. Manufacturing cells at high volume would be another challenge for a company. And the other problem is the chemicals and parts that go into making a battery are in somewhat short supply. So, Tesla employees conduct some of the battery cell manufacturing at their Skunk Works lab. I always want to know why they call them Skunk Works. The plant where Tesla makes its Model 3, Model S, and Model X vehicles today, while its batteries are made at its Gigafactory in Sparks, Nevada, a factory jointly owned and operated with Panasonic. So, some of that. Let's talk to, I think, Paul. Good morning.
Good morning, John. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I got a quick AAA question for you.
Sure.
I heard you maybe a month or two ago talking about a service AAA has where they will provide, where they replace your fob if it becomes defective or lost. And I couldn't find that on the website. I did get a new car recently. It's got a fob that looks like it would take a small loan to replace. And I tried out the site. I couldn't find it. Where can I find that?
Yeah,
that information?
It's actually it's a wheel tire, key fob, and paintless dent removal. So it's a whole bunch of stuff that's all kind of squished together, and it is it's a new service. I be honest with you, I didn't even know we had it. And then I found out some more about it, and it is looking at some of the pricing, it's really pretty good. And the one thing you can't do is you can't say, well, I always wanted three key fobs. I'll just tell them I lost one and get a new one. You can't do that, because what happens is they kind of when you get replacement key fobs, they kind of electronically, not us, but the manufacturer keeps track of how many there is. But it is a brand new service. There isn't a lot of information on it about the service right now on the website. But if you go into any one of our branch offices and ask them about it, they should be able to give you some more information. Again, compared to what I saw at some of the dealerships, it's not just, it's a whole package. So it's wheels and tires, key fob, and if the car is less than 5 years old, paintless dent removal. So if you get a ding in the door or something, you can call up and they'll take the ding out. So again, it's a pretty all-encompassing kind of insurance policy. So and that's what it falls under. So I'm not sure where it is on the website either, but I know that when I was in, for instance, the Rockland office getting my driver's license renewed, I was talking to the woman there who was telling me all about it. So I don't. Unfortunately, I don't have. I don't have any more information about than that. So my best advice right now is either go into or call any one of our AAA offices and ask them about the new wheel, tire, and key insurance policy, and they'll be able to tell you. They'll be able to tell you all about it and find out where it is. And in the meantime, if I can find out more information where it is on our website, I will. I'll let you know.
Hi, that sounds good. I'll drop you an email on it. I have your email.
Okay, perfect.
Do you know if that's an annual fee, or is that just a one-time thing and it covers more than one vehicle?
It's per vehicle is the way it works, and it is, and I believe it's for 5 years at a time. But I'm kind of
that sounds good.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's what I think it is. I think it's a 5-year plan is the way it works, and but I'm a little embarrassed to say I don't know as much about it as I should.
All right. Well, I'll drop you an email on it anyway.
Okay.
And also, when you were mentioning about the license renewal for Real ID, I did that at the Saugus office, and just a little tip. I got there about a half an hour early, and turned out to be a third person in line. And I was in and out of there in 10 minutes. So I highly recommend getting your license renewal early. Don't go at the end of the month. And it was a seamless process at the AAA store. So
well, thank you.
Recommend it to others.
All right, good enough. All right, take care now.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Yep, bye-bye. We need to take another break. We'll do that. Maybe in the meantime I can find out some more information about what I should already know something about. Again, I apologize for that. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Car Doctor program on AM 950 WROL, the Spirit of Boston. Before we go, I need to say congratulations to our boss, former boss, I guess, Pat Ryan. Pat Ryan was the general manager for many years here at Salem Radio Boston, and she has since retired. There was a little retirement party for her on Tuesday night where there was fun had by all, and Carol Holly Simmons is going to be the new general manager, so congratulations to her. Pat Ryan, job well done. enjoy the next chapter of your life. Spend time with your kids and your grandkids, and just enjoy what life has to offer from this point going forward. It has been a pleasure working with you and for you for the past many years. So congratulations to you. And I'm not 100% sure, but I bet Paul Sullivan's in the studio.
Well,
because I'm not.
That's untrue, because Dennis told you I was here. I heard him. So
oh, come on.
True, so
come on.
Lying to the
but I don't know that he told me the truth.
Oh, that's okay. Hey,
yeah.
You should be a diplomat. That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I don't know what's really going on there. You know, I don't have a camera in the studio. You know.
Well, you're in your undisclosed bunker somewhere.
That's right.
Someone else. What did they say? Beneath the bricks and steel of a nondescript building somewhere.
That's right. Yeah.
But I don't know from who.
So, yeah, I could be in what looks like a Verizon phone building, because they all look the same. They're brick buildings and they have no windows. And maybe that's where I am.
You sound good. Hey, I just asked Dennis a clarifying question on the stuff you were just talking about with regard to AAA and license renewal and stuff. Now, I just had, some eye work done, and my vision now is better than it's been in a long time. So if my license is not due to expire till next June, I think, can I walk into AAA and say, hey, my eyes are good. I think I can really, really hit a home run on the vision test. Can I renew my license early at AAA?
Yes, you can, up to a year early, providing you're a AAA member, of course. But yeah,
I've been a AAA member since, I think it says since the dawn of time on the card that I have.
Since it says before cars.
Yes. Yeah. It says, who are you to question me? I was member number one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you can renew up to a year early
and get that new fancy license.
You can. You need. I would suggest you do your homework ahead of time. Go online. There's a little online registry of motor vehicles checklist, because you need to have either a Social Security card or something with your Social Security number on it, like a W-9 form.
Okay.
Passport is good to have as an extra form of ID. Two things that show residency, so like a utility bill or something that's not more than 60 days old.
Okay.
And that shows that you really live where you live, and you can get it done early. And if it's not really busy at the office, and you went in and you just said to them, can you just turn on the thing and let me try an eye test just to see if I'm going to pass or not? I'm sure they'll do it.
And when you renew a year early, do you still get do you get 6 years to renew, or do you have it just?
It doesn't change the expiration. So if your license is due to expire in June of 2020,
right,
the next expiration would be June of 2025. If you did it now, the expiration would still be June of 2025. So it doesn't change.
Okay. Good. Yeah. I think I'm going to do that. Is it every AAA office or only select ones?
Every AAA office in Massachusetts.
So Norwood would work.
Norwood would work. Technically, I think it's Westwood, but yes,
Westwood,
go in and see.
Stop it.
You go in and see Donna and the ladies there, and they will help you. It's a busy office, and we have actually 2 camera systems there, so we can speed you along.
I think Claire and I will both do it this summer. I didn't know.
There you go.
See, you learn something from your show. That's why I listen all the time.
There you go. What a great way to spend your summer vacation. Go get your license renewed. All right. That music means the piano player is playing in the background. That means I need to get away. And Paul Sullivan and the Irish Hit Parade, the very best in Irish music, starting in just about a minute. So stay tuned for that. Until next week, make sure you wear your seatbelt, drive safely, and be good to your car. Talk to you all next week. Bye-bye.